Welcome. In this explainer, we're going to break down the homeopathic profile of Aesculus hippocastanum. You probably know it by its more common name, horse chestnut.
So, you might be wondering where all this information is coming from. Well, our entire analysis is based on this single entry from the Remedicon Home Guide. Our job here is pretty simple. We're just going to walk you through it and explain what it says.
Okay, to make this super clear, we've broken down the information into 5 key sections. We'll look at the horse chestnut profile, what we're calling a system slowed down, its characteristic backache, the overall picture of discomfort, and finally the conditions for change. This should give us a really solid picture by the end.
All right, first up, the horse chestnut profile. Let's get right to its core action.
So, the source kicks things off with this key concept, venous stasis. What does that even mean? Well, it's basically a fancy way of saying that the blood flow in the veins slows right down. And this slowdown causes a kind of traffic jam in the body, congestion, and a feeling of fullness. This idea is really the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about.
Now, where does this congestion show up the most? According to the guide, it's really pronounced in the lower body, especially the lower bowel. We're talking about swollen, engorged veins that the text specifically describes as having a purple color. So this whole slowing down thing, it's not just in one spot. The source makes it clear that this is a system-wide issue, a theme of congestion and torpor that affects the whole body. I mean, look at this quote directly from the source. It just says it all, doesn't it? Everything is slowed down, digestion, heart, bowels, etc. This really hammers home that we're talking about a general sluggishness that hits multiple systems at once. And this sluggishness isn't just a vague feeling. The guide points to some very specific physical signs. You've got congestion in the portal system, around the liver. There's this feeling of fullness in different parts of the body. Even the mucous membranes are described as dry and swollen. The heart's action is called full and heavy. And there's constipation with hard, dry stools. See the pattern here? It all points back to that one central idea. Things just aren't flowing.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. The source puts a huge emphasis on a very specific kind of backache. This isn't just any back pain. It's described as a key identifying symptom. And just listen to how the guide describes it. The back aches and gives out and unfits the patient for business. I mean, wow. That phrase, unfits the patient for business, is so old school, but it paints such a clear picture. This is a backache that basically stops you in your tracks. And the source is super specific about where this pain is. It's not all over the back. It's centered right on the sacrum. That's the triangular bone at the very base of your spine, and it often involves the hips as well. And we get even more detail on what makes it worse. Things like walking or stooping are a big problem. There's this feeling that the spine itself is weak and that the back and legs could just give out at any moment. The source even mentions that a similar kind of lameness can show up in the neck and between the shoulder blades, too. Okay, so besides that really distinct backache, the guide gives us a whole picture of discomfort with a bunch of other notable symptoms that fill out the profile. And check this out. This is a perfect example of how specific and honestly kind of weird these descriptions can be. A key symptom mentioned is that the rectum feels full of small sticks. You just can't make this stuff up. It's such a memorable and strange sensation, and it really shows you the level of detail these guides go into.
And that strange feeling isn't an outliner. This whole pattern of discomfort, of pressure, soreness, and constriction, it pops up all over the place. The stomach feels like it has a stone in it. The head is described as dull and confused, almost bruised. The throat feels hot, raw, and tight. You've got aching in the arms and legs, even numb fingertips. And it goes all the way down to the soles of the feet, which feel sore, tired, and swollen. It's a consistent picture from top to bottom.
All right, so we've talked about what the symptoms are. Now let's look at the conditions for change. In homeopathy, this is a really big deal, and they're called modalities. It's just a term for the things that make the symptoms better or worse.
And the source gives us a really stark contrast here. On the worse side, you have, well, pretty much everything. Waking up in the morning, any motion at all, walking, stooping, standing, even eating makes things worse. But then you look at the better side, and there's only one thing. Cool, open air. That's it. A pretty clear pattern, right?
So let's boil this all down. If you're going to take away just a few key things from the source, here they are. First, the central theme is all about venous congestion and sluggishness. Second, the absolute keynote symptom is that severe backache in the sacrum that just gives out. Third, the general feeling throughout the body is one of fullness, dryness, and constriction. And finally, that key modality, pretty much all motion makes it worse, and cool, open air makes it better. That's the profile in a nutshell.
So what does a deep dive like this really show us? I mean, when you look at a symptom picture in this much detail, from the idea of venous stasis all the way down to that feeling of small sticks, what does it reveal about the homeopathic approach itself? It really highlights how this methodology is all about capturing the super specific, unique, and totally individual experience of a person's symptoms.